Hello everyone. Okay, so what we are going to do today is I'm going to show you how we can get data from one file and compare it with another file, right? What we can do is we can use apply to each to iterate through the entries of one file with respect to the other and get the matching entries what we want, right? So this is one approach, whereas the second approach would be to use a select and filter array, right? So I'm going to show you both the ways so that we can compare that which one is better for us to use, right? So let's get started. So get serial number. Okay, when a file is created, okay, this is deprecated, created properties only. Okay, so see, this is the document library. So these are the two folders that we have. Users file is where we will create the file or upload the file, and the master file folder that you see in here, we will have the master file from where that the file from the users folder we will have the comparison between the two. So in within the users file, I'm creating this. See, this serial number is something that we will match with the master file. So serial number, some random names. What is important is that we put this in a table. Okay. So this is important step because in the table design, if you see this table one, right, this is something that we are going to use in the flow. We are going to get these entries in the flow from this Excel, and how we going to list them is we are going to use the tabular format and the table content within it, right? So it needs to be in a tabular format. Even though user is uploading or creating that file has to have a format, and that is the tabular format. Okay, so we have our file. Let's close this. Okay, and let's create a master file for us to compare with. Okay, serial number, state, city. We'll have some random values. So we have three serial numbers mentioned in there. Let's match two of them, 1 2 3 4 5, and 1 2 3 4 6 7. We want 1 2 3 4 7 1 2 3 4 8 1 2 3 4 9. Okay, let's have 5 entries. State. So again we will put this into a table as well. And we can see that by default it is table 1. Alright, now we have our master file. Okay, let's name this as master file, and we have our file from the user. So if you can see 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6, this serial number, this three serial number, we have the starting three serial numbers. So this is what we want to match and get the corresponding values in our file. Okay, so this is the flow. Our objective is, let's so whenever the user uploads the file or creates, we will have the flow will be triggered. So the users folder is the one where the file needs to be created. Okay, so this is our trigger. Now what I want to do is I want to create a new file in which the matching entries should be there. Okay, so let's create one more here by the name of required file or the matching file. Okay, so the user file will be matched with the master file and we will have our output in the matching file. So let's create a matching file as well. Okay, in the matching file, so matching file will be created on the go. So let's have one basic format that we want: serial number, state, city, okay. So we will put this in tabular format and design table 1. All right, so why I have created that is we are going to create our file dynamically. Okay, so for that let me so we will use get file content and we will get the output of that file. All right, share documents, matching file, there it is. Save and let's trigger. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to take this output and we are going to put that into compose and there we have it. Okay, so let's create our file. Okay, create file, let's take the site address, the folder path we want to create it in our matching folder, name of the file, let's give it a dynamic name, file content, we will use the output from the compose. So this will create a dynamic file all the time with the format that we have suggested, right? So this will be our matching file. We can delete from the matching folder the file that we created. We just needed the format output. Okay, so now we have our trigger. We have the matching file that will be created. Now let's move to the next step, which is the actual, let's list both our files. Okay, so list, we will use this list rows present in a table. Let's take the users file first. So the users file will be in the document. Okay, so the file is not yet uploaded, it will be uploaded on the go. So we will have, when the file is created, we will use that entry, and we will have use the ID from that one, and we know the table is table 1. Okay, so you would have to use table 1 has a custom value. Okay, now the same for, so this one is for the users file. Okay, so now list rows present in the table. Again, test site 3 document library, and so this file exists there. So we will use, this is a static file, this file will be present, right? The users file will be a dynamic file. The user whenever uploads, the flow will trigger, so we can pick it from there. And the file that we are generating, the matching file, is a dynamic file, right? But this one is a static one. We can, and since this is a static one, it is taking the table 1 entry. All right, so till now we got the users file, the flow got triggered, we created our own Excel file with the use of compose, with the format, the set format, and then we have listed both the users file and the masters file rows. Okay, so now after listing it, we can now do the comparison. So let's save our flow first. Okay, so let's get serial entry. Done. All right, so let's do the apply to each first. Apply to each. Let's take the entry from the users file. Okay, so we will take users file. Okay, match the condition. So how many entries, how so many entries are there in the users file? We had 3 in our examples. All those values need to be iterated, so that's why apply to each. All those values one by one will iterate. What we want to iterate is whether the serial number right? So since, see, if I do dynamic, right, in here you will see that I can get the serial number for the master file, but if I go to the users file, I will not get the serial number because the users file is not yet created, right? We are dynamic, the flow will trigger when that file will be made available, right? The flow will get triggered. So what we need the serial number, right? So what we will do is, whenever the flow will get created, we know that we need the item function, right? And the value that we need is for the serial number. So we will code it, okay? And the serial number is equal to the serial number of what is there in the database file. So you can see automatically it has put and applied to each, a second applied to each within, right? Because the second file, the database file, also has multiple entries, right? In our case 5 entries are there. So the first applied to each will iterate for 3 entries, 3 serial numbers, and the second, since the master file has 5 entries, it will iterate for 5. So the first entry of the user's file will iterate across the 5 entries of the master file. Then the second entry will iterate across the 5 entries of the master file one by one, right? So the first entry 5 times, then the second entry 5 times, and the third entry 5 times, right? So 15 times it has to run. Okay, let's complete. So if the serial number is this, then what we want to do is we want to add a row, right, to the Excel that we have dynamically created. Add a row into table. Location is test site 3. Document library, document. File is the file that we have created. Okay, show advanced option, and the table that we are going for is table 1. Okay, save will give an error, and that is what I'm looking for as well. See, the row is required. Okay, so we need the row values what we want to fill. So what we will do here is compose, we have the serial number. Okay, so the serial number, let's take it from the master file. Then the state, and then the city. And that we will use in the rows as an output. Save. Okay, so this is it. Our flow is completed. Let's delete this file, or let's leave it if I need it for the template one. Now let's run the flow. So since I would have to upload a file, so let's download this, not this one, my bad. Let's download this one, book 3, and delete it. Let's upload file, download. There it is. So we have fulfilled the criteria for the trigger, and we should have our flow running. The error says the no table was found with the name table 1. How is that possible? So we were getting error in this one, right? So I'm going to use not the ID, instead the path. Save. That's the wrong one, not the create file, but rather when the file is created, because that's the user file. We will use the full path. Okay, save, and same we will do for this one as well. This one has the full path and the name, so that should be fine. Let's run, since we have already an previous entry which failed. Let's run it now. So it was giving the ID 7, but it needed the file name, right? Like master file dot xls. And okay, so we have our flow running, and here is the output. So the out of the 5, the 3 entries matching were these 3 entries, the starting 3 entries, right? So if you see, the apply to each took about 12 seconds, and as I said, from the first file, users file, the 3 entry, the first entry, right, is getting matched across 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The fourth will be as false, whereas the first 3 will be, I'm sorry, only the first entry of this first will be matching, and the rest, it would iterate one by one through all, and it will be false. Then the second entry of the users file will iterate across all the 5 entries again. The second entry will come as true, right, whereas the rest 4 will come as false. Okay, so if this is a lot of entries within the file, right, hundred thousands of entries in the master file, then it would have to iterate across all that, and that is where the issue is, because then it will take a lot of time, right? Instead of this 12 seconds, it will be much higher. So what we can do is alternative to this, right? Before that, concat UTC now formatted. Okay, so till from here, from compose create file list, this remains same, but instead of apply to each, right, we will instead use our alternative, right? So let's delete, or rather let it be select. So we are going to use from the users file, right? We will select the serial number, okay, and by the way, in the apply to each, right? So this one, since we are dynamically getting it, it would be items, and in the bracket you can go and check if both becomes same, apply to each two and apply to each two, just change one to apply to each, right? So that, and it's items with an S. Okay, coming back, select filter array. Okay, so we will use now the second value from the master one, okay, and from the master we will use the output of the previous one, select, and this will have contains serial number. Okay, so this, let's save, and let me run this. Wait, I changed something here. brackets. I forgot this bracket here, and this should do. Format date time. Okay, so I'm naming it till the year, month, day, and then the hour until the minute, right? Because I'll be running test, and similar name files can give error. Okay, so now see these three steps. See the difference. 0 seconds, 0 seconds. It's I'll show you the output as well. Right, 13 seconds and it generated your file as well. But see here. So first we get only the serial numbers from the users file. Okay, users file had the name as well, but we got only the serial number from the select, right? And in the filter what we are doing is that serial number with respect to the serial number in the master file we are matching, and wherever the match is there it should give us. So the master file, since we are doing in the master file has 5 entries, so let's check. So this is the first entry, 1 2. Look at this 10346, the number. You can look at the state and the city as well, right? Then Karnataka 1347, then Tamil Nadu 1348, and the last West Bengal Kolkata 1349. So 5 entries. Out of these 5 entries, what it will do, it will filter this array and give us the output with everything but 3 entries, which is matching with those 3 serial numbers. So 1345 Delhi, 1346 UP, and 1347 Karnataka, Bangalore, right? So it has filtered us, right, 5 entries. From the 5 entries, based on what the serial numbers were, it has filtered and given us the results, right? So the result is seen from this as well, and the time frame we can see, right, 0 seconds. And if there are a lot of entries within the file that it has to iterate through, it would be always better for us to use the select and the filter, right? Let's just check. See, this is a better file format name and the 3 entries. Okay, so this is getting generated still through the apply to each, because I have not used after filter array for us to generate. So there are still more steps to be covered here. Okay, before that, okay, so what next we are going to do, so we are going to update this. So in the filter you saw, right, how the output was, you were having all the details. Now we are going to add a row to the table in a desired file, but for us to do this we would have to use one more step in between, which is parse a JSON step. Okay, it will take the value from the filter array, the body content, and the schema, right? We will generate it from the sample. So how we will do it, you will insert here the output of your filter array, copy this and paste it here, right? And then click on OK, and it will generate the format for you, right? Serial number, state, cdc, it has generated the format. So once we do the parse JSON, so what is the benefit of doing the parse JSON is that now we will be able to extract those values. This is, it will show up in a dynamic content. Okay, now all we have to do is we have to do add a row into a table. This will also go into apply to each. That should come up on its own. So the file that we created, here it is. Right, add a row into table. I think I'll use file name. ID works. Okay, table 1, the custom value. There it is. Okay, so let me do this. Apply to each. So we had 3 results that were coming in. We would iterate those 3 results. Parse JSON body. Apply to each goes, add a row goes into it, and then we have the compose. Within the compose, right, we have the serial number. State and city. Okay, and if you see in the parse JSON we are having the serial number, the state, and the city for us to pick. Okay, there is a comma that will come after this but not after the last entry, and that is the compose. Let's bring it here and let's bring the compose in here. Okay, save. Let me delete all the files. All right, so this applied to each, right, in here is through our filter array, right, select filter array and parsing. Then we are inputting that, adding a row, and this is the comparison is done through apply to each within apply to each, right, and then the if condition, right. So this is apply to each within apply to each and then the if condition. That is how the comparison and the filtering is done, and then it is adding into the row, right. Whereas in this one we have the filter array, select and then filter array, parse it and then put it into the row. If I have to test it, even though it's going to create only one single file, right, but you can easily do the comparison when it shows how much seconds the each step are going to take. Okay, so as we can see here, this is 0 second, 0 second, 0 second, and within 6 seconds that has been filled, whereas this is going on after 10 seconds as well, and it's almost double the time that this one took. And the filtering was way more faster, just inputting it. You can imagine if you have the set of data is even more bigger than the apply to each, within the apply to each, and the if condition would take even more time as compared to the filter and the select. So filter and select uh, is obviously a better method here to be applied, since the number of calls also would be less, as well as the time that the flow is going to take, right? Even though we have a single file that will have double entries, one from the apply to each one. The first one is through the select method, and the last three is through the apply to each. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show mainly in this, the comparison between select, filter array, and apply to each. Following this in the same one, I'm going to show you how to use a file system, but that is going to be another video. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.